It's time for No Pad Sports Talk. Stay tuned as two brothers bring you the latest from your Michigan teams and beyond in hockey, baseball, football, and more. Let's get started. Here are your hosts, JD and Steve.
Oh my goodness, welcome to another exciting edition of No Pad Sports Talk. I am one of your hosts, JD.
And I am Steve, and we are back after a 2-week hiatus, I guess.
We had a cry over the game. No,
we were licking our wounds like most Lions fans.
No.
We appreciate the amazing season that they had. It was just that was a tough loss.
It was tough,
right?
Yeah.
So, but no, that's not really why. One of us had, couldn't hold his food down.
Yeah.
Kind of me last week. So
it happens, I guess.
It is what it is.
It was kind of honestly, like, obviously this isn't our full time. We don't get paid for doing this. It's not our job. We do this for fun, and to be honest, doing all those live shows, as fun as they were, it kind of felt good to take a little bit of a break there for a second. So
it did.
I wasn't too upset necessarily.
3 or 4 straight live shows.
Yeah, something like that. I think we did week 17 when they did we stream when they clinched in 16 or
we streamed with Dallas, and I thought we streamed every game after that. I thought.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So we
streamed
15, 16, 17, and the 2 playoff games?
Yeah.
3 playoff games.
Yeah. So 5, 6, whatever it was. But it was a lot.
It was a lot.
So, and those are, 3.5, 4 hours at a clip, which is why you probably didn't, we didn't do post-game shows because you got our live reactions to the game. There was no sense in doing a post game, right?
No.
But definitely have missed it. I was telling JD just before here, we'll text back and forth throughout the week, send each other this, that, and the other thing. But we don't typically talk. We usually spend, 30 minutes before we get on the show, talk about, just what's been going on in our lives and, catching up that way. And,
yeah, we don't even talk about the show necessarily. It's just like
no.
It's like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
I haven't heard from you.
It's basically a video call for us. And then, we write down, okay, well, what are you going to do today? Oh, here's what we're going to do. And then we write down a little bit of an agenda, and then we go from there.
So I also want to mention real quick, my background's changed. I'm trying to change it around. I was expecting to get a new piece today. Amazon said it was going to be delivered today, and they lied. It's not delivered today. So I just got the blank green screen. You can kind of see part of what I'm doing up top. But anyways, I am changing the background around. I'm getting rid of the Angel stuff, with the Shohei Ohtani and all that kind of stuff, because now on the Dodgers anyways. So background's changing. So I just want to point that out. So hopefully by next week, everything will be in place for that. But today, we actually have a full show for you, and we want to start it off. We got to kind of recap the season and just do a end of the season wrap, because we haven't really done that because we didn't really talk, as we just mentioned, we didn't do a show last week. And after the game was over, we just kind of, ended our live stream. So we haven't really had a chance to talk about it, but we have had a chance to reflect on the season.
Yes, we have. And, when you look at the season as a whole, right, it was the best season the Detroit Lions have ever had, ever, right? You're talking 14 wins.
Well, in our lifetime, anyways.
In our lifetime, yeah. We obviously played more games today than we did when, back in the 50s, right?
Right.
There was a 10-game, 12-game season. Then it went to 14. There was a 16-game season for a really long time. And now we're at 17 games over an 18-week period, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but to sit there and say, to win 14 games in a year, That's a heck of an accomplishment. It doesn't matter what team we're talking about, right? But having a 14-win season, that's something to brag about. So, this season started out, we had extremely high hopes. If you guys go back and listen to our preseason talk about the Lions and what we expected, we got what we wanted. We got what we expected when you think about what we said at the beginning of the year, right? Looking at the players that we had coming off the year that they finished with the year before and carrying that momentum, right? And then, coming in and then starting the season, the first game of the NFL season, and you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champion, right?
Who's now, again, obviously in it this year as well.
Yep, which is why I think that was another thing why I wanted the Lions to win again, right? And I know we talked about that, is that having the Lions and the Chiefs be the first game of the season and the exact last game of the season, it would have been a really cool bookend for the NFL season. So next year, hey, NFL and Mr. Goodell, if you want to write that script, that would be fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, we've said it, during the entire season, like the bar, right? The minimum bar they had to achieve was winning the division. Like that was it. Yeah. Like anything less would have been a failure, and by achieving that was just the expectation at this point.
It was
like you can't even call it a good season. That's what's expected. That's kind of like you achieve the okay. You just got whatever. So winning a playoff game is what would make it a good season, and they actually won 2. They had a chance to win 3. They had an epic meltdown.
Yep.
But we don't. That's not really. I don't really want to rehash the game itself. But yeah, there was an epic meltdown, and but it was a successful season.
It was. Look, we've got a pretty young team. I think our team is balanced well when you talk about young talent and some veteran talent, right? Had to deal with a lot of injuries along our offensive line. On the defensive side, obviously, our defensive backs weren't great, but all in all, there were patchwork back there, right?
Well, I mean, I think the big problem was they knew the secondary was weak. They brought in 2 brand new cornerbacks to try to shore it up. Mosley was supposed to be the number 1, and he ended up getting injured and only played barely longer than Aaron Rodgers played this year.
Yeah, and I felt so bad for him. Like, to be excited to be on this team and to get back, and then all of a sudden you tear the other one.
Yeah,
I mean, just demoralizing, deflating, right? Like how that's tough.
And and Sutton wasn't supposed to be our number 1, but yet he was kind of forced into that role.
He was,
and he was forced in on an island, right? Because towards the end of the season, I said end of the season. I don't know, halfway through the season.
Yeah.
After the Thanksgiving Day game, they started doing a lot more blitzing, trying to put pressure on the quarterback, and that left Sutton a lot of one-on-ones with some of the top receivers in the game, like Justin Jefferson and stuff, and that's a big ask, and obviously he's not good enough to go one-on-one with those type of receivers, and
not week after week. Yeah, not week after week. Like he had some good plays and he made some things happen. We are not Cam Sutton fans by no means, right?
No.
But like my brother said, at the end of the year, like you said, after that Green Bay game, that Thanksgiving game, we left him on an island and asked him to do some of the impossible. Right? And it's being as tough as that was. And my thing is, I think the biggest problem I had about him is that he couldn't stay on his feet, and he wasn't getting juked. Like, it wasn't one of those things. he was tripping over his feet, and I don't know if that has that to me that's he's got tight hips. If he's not able to get his hips turned around and he's trying to do too much, I think that's something he can work on and maybe get better.
I did read somewhere, I forgot where I read it, that he was actually pretty banged up too in the year. And, again, I have no inside sources. It may or may not be true. But, I did read he was banged up some, and that might have contributed to a lot of that. Tightness, stiffness, falling down. I don't know. But, I'd say the person I was most disappointed in, obviously, was probably Jerry Jacobs, right? Like, he came in and, we were kind of surprised by how well he played, but, I mean, he's really regressed, and he hasn't really, and so we had to bring in someone off the street, Vildor, and honestly, I know Vildor's taking a lot of heat from the fans too, but I believe as far as coverage goes, specifically coverage, that Vildor was probably our best outside coverage cornerback.
Outside, yeah.
I know that's not saying a lot. That's not a a high bar to try to.
It was not for the Lions, not with these DBs.
He was our best outside cover guy.
Yeah.
And right now, because I don't know where they're going to go, we're going to talk more in depth about this later on at a different time. But I wouldn't mind right now seeing Vildor brought back as an insurance policy, because at least he has some ability to cover a guy.
Yes.
But again, that's kind of a topic for another day. But it was a good season, and really, Brad Holmes shows that he is a master at drafting players. You had 4 rookies again stepping up and playing a huge role in their success.
Yeah. And
that goes along with the previous 2 drafts when those guys, stepped up and played a huge role. I mean, it's. I don't know how he's doing it, but just keep doing it, because oh my goodness,
well, we said it during the draft, and we've said it all season. In Brad we trust, right?
Right.
When it comes to player personnel, the guy just seems to know what we need, right? And I think between him and Coach Campbell, they are on the same page, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are of one mind, and they go in and they get the guys they want. So this year when we go into the draft, I want everyone to remember that they're going to go and get the guys they want, and just trust that they're doing the right thing.
I've there was a. How certain sports outlets do like a redraft of certain years? So a certain sports outlet, I forgot who it was, maybe CBS, I could be wrong. It might have been, whatever, it doesn't matter. They did a redraft of this last draft. And I was talking about, we did the first round, all right? Now, get this. It was ESPN. I'm sorry. It was indeed ESPN. They redid the 2023 NFL draft. Here's where the 4 rookies, Gibbs, Laporta, Branch, and Campbell, went in the redraft, according to ESPN, if I could do it again.
Yep.
And this does not take into consideration trade. So, Lions technically didn't trade back, get extra picks or whatever. But
right.
ESPN still has Lions taking Gibbs at 6. Because, again, how impactful Gibbs was.
Yep.
Packers would then take Laporta at 13. Steelers take Branch at 17. And Cowboys would take Campbell at 26. So you technically would have 4 first-round players that he drafted in this draft. According to this redraft, anyways. Again, I know it's not scientific, but...
It is not, but that's based on performance. Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's where you take them. So, yeah, is running back a position that you try to you go and take in the first round? Not typically, right? but they did trade back, right?
Yeah.
And they got that guy, right?
I'm not.
It wasn't bad, right? Oh, I know. Well, I'm on the backs because we talked about it a lot. Bill O'Brien was the offensive coordinator in New England, and as soon as we drafted Gibbs, they traded because they were going to get their guy,
right?
Because I think they wanted him, and I absolutely believe that. I'll believe that till the day I die, right?
I do too.
So, that's just how that is, and and then these redrafts are interesting because they draft them based on performance. So they're like, okay, hey, we're going to slot this guy here now, right? Because of team need and player performance, right?
Right.
So the only problem I have with those is that when you think about it from a perspective of, well, would they have been able to perform at the level they performed at with the team their new team they got drafted with? Right? So does Laporta do as well in Green Bay? Right? Jack Campbell actually might even have a better season in Dallas because of the defense they ran down there was
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Yeah.
So when you look about fit and how that works, it's hard to sit there and say, yeah, they'd be the same player, because I don't know that they would be, right? It's kind of how I feel about the field goals. While I was okay in the NFC Championship game, right? I'm always a guy who wants to take the points. Like, I would have taken the easy 3 points, right? The 48-yarder, we know how our kicking game is. That's how it is, right? But on the other side of that, let's say the game is tied or we're up by 3 at that point. The way San Francisco plays and things just change, right? Yeah. You can play with a lead and then you're playing to come from behind, right? So all that changes. So I can't sit there and say, yeah, hey, we kick the field goals, we win that game. We have a better chance. We would have had a better chance.
If you've seen this, and I just want to read it for those that haven't seen it. Alex Anzalone, of course, is a leader on that defense, right? Yeah. Leader on the team in general. Put out a statement back on February 6th. And so I believe that if Alex Anzalone is coming out and saying this on behalf of the team, that the team truly believes what is being said, here in his words. And here's what it was, all right? Dear Detroit, we were all behind Dan on the 4th down call. Let's get that out of the way first. If you could rewind time, we'd all do it again, 100 times out of 100. The offense, the defense, everybody. If you have been following this team's journey for the last 3 years, then you know how we play football. You know the mentality that got us here. It was the right decision, and I'm not talking about the right decision for analytics or talk radio or whatever. It was the right call for us, especially in that moment. When you're in that situation, 20 games into the NFL season, it's not like a video game. You're not playing Madden. You had guys out there playing with bum ankles, guys playing with MCL sprains, guys taking nerve injections and Toradol, guys who could barely get out of bed that morning. It's a battle of wills at that point in the season. You're just running on pure belief and adrenaline. Yep. I feel like if you shy away from your identity in that moment, then you're betraying the very thing that got you there.
Oh, man. That right here. That's the heart and soul of a team. And I know I said it during our live, right, when we were streaming the game. And I said, look, the thing that got us there was the stuff that Dan Campbell did. It's the stuff that team did. You did say that. Right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to get that out there because that's the truth, right? That's what that team is. So you live and die by the things that got you there.
I agree with you for the most part, right? But here's where I disagree. I disagree on in that moment, because it's not about analytics. It isn't. It's not. And so we've seen it before. We've seen it in other games that Dan Campbell has been aggressive and it's come back to bite him in the butt, right?
Yep.
Like, there's certain times and certain moments in which I think being aggressive on the play call would work. We talked about during the games when Dan Campbell was going for it in fourth down, close by the end zone, and he didn't make it. I said, hey, I like the call to go for it on fourth down, but I didn't like the actual play that was actually called at that time.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so but that time though, man, like, you're struggling to score points. We know that. And we've seen it happen. I think it might have been the Thanksgiving Day game where things kind of got out of hand, and yeah, you're down right now, but you just don't know what's going to happen towards the end of the game. Like, you take the points when you have the ability to take the points. And I know it's not a gimme field goal. I hold my breath every time the Lions kick it. I understand all of that. And I even understand the fact that even if he has a 50-50 chance of making it, and you're talking about giving them the ball in really good field position, you know, I understand all that. But I'm just saying, like, my gut feeling, and maybe I can't really explain it. My gut feeling was telling me at that time, you kick it and you try to get the points that way. I didn't want him to go for it. Yeah. And but anyways, that was tough. But
it was.
Hey,
and I understand what you're saying, because in that moment, they needed to stop or slow momentum, right? And I think by having gotten points during that onslaught of points that the Niners were taking and getting any points in that moment matters. So
it does. Yes.
And I do understand that, and I hear what you're saying, and I believe the right call would have been kick the field goal, right? Because you have to take back some of that, right? And then, you know, there were just some things that we had some bad things happen. Drop passes. St. Brown dropped the ball, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't hardly happen.
There's a lot of hate on Reynolds, but you're right. St. Brown dropped the ball.
St. Brown dropped one.
A first down.
Yes. So Reynolds took a lot of heat because, well, it was that was a big fourth down call.
Honestly, to me, the two big plays that changed the game for the Lions, and I really do think it boils down to two. It was that deep pass that bounced off Villar's helmet.
Yeah.
Right? And then, and then right after that, you have the Gibbs fumble.
Yeah.
And those two plays changed the entire course of the game.
Yeah. Like, because the bounce of the ball, right? On both those plays, it was the bounce of the ball, basically, right?
Yes.
And it went their way. It just, like that bounce off the helmet, it reminded me that, like, the helmet catch the Giants had against
Patriots.
Yeah, right? So I just don't, things like that happen. And that's just, who thought Lamar Jackson was going to throw a pass to himself?
That was funny.
Right? So, the Lions season overall, though, like, I couldn't be more proud to have been a Lions fan.
Agreed.
Right? I went off about how ticket prices were this and ticket prices were that. But overall, this was my team. This was my team, and they played that blue collar game. This is my team. This was my team.
I do think we have to shout out one more though, right? We're proud of the Lions, absolutely, but we got to be proud of the Lions fans. The way they traveled this year and went to all those away games.
Yeah,
I mean, look, that was amazing. I know we didn't do any of that ourselves, but just being able to watch all those Lions fans go into, the opposing team's stadium and basically take it over. There really wasn't an away game for the Lions this year.
No, I want to say, because of all the teams that I've seen in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers fans are really travel well. And the Lions outdid them this year.
Yeah.
The Lions outdid them. And fans, it was a long time coming. I think what we saw this year is repeatable because the pieces are in place. Our coaches came back because they believe so much, I think, in what we are doing. I don't care what anybody else says, they didn't interview well. They call it Ben Johnson. They call him out for the Commanders, saying, "Well, the owners were talking about stuff, and these guys are just basketball guys." I'm like, maybe he did that. Maybe he did say that, right? And if that's the case, maybe he didn't really want the job, but he was interviewing anyway, knowing that he was going to come back.
I heard that I think it was the Commanders coaches or one of the. I was on a plane coming to Detroit to interview Ben Johnson.
Yeah, it was the Commanders.
And he just, at that point, reached out to him and said, "Yeah, I don't want the job." And and I guess some inside source, some former NFL executive, unnamed, basically blasted Johnson for that, saying that's how you ruin your reputation. That's not how you do things in this league, whatever. And I don't really think Ben Johnson cares.
No. Well, if we're talking about reputations, right? I mean, who was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots? He was the coach for Vegas this year before he got fired.
Was it McDaniels?
Josh McDaniels, right?
Yeah.
He had a job and said no. They already offered him the job. They announced that he was going to be the coach. He started pulling in a coaching staff, and then he changed his mind and went back to the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He still had 2 head coaching positions. Sucked at both of them. I don't think Ben Johnson would suck. He's got a better personality than Josh McDaniels. Right?
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels was trying to be Bill Belichick Jr., and he's just not.
No.
So,
look, we're going to do a full breakdown of Lions needs and possibly do our very first mock draft coming up and a different show and a future show. So watch out for that because I think that's going to be interesting. Mock drafts are going out there a lot. And I just want to throw out there for anybody listening to this right now, we actually called some of the most controversial picks, right? I mean, we called the Gibbs pick, called the Laporta pick, and the Campbell pick.
Yeah.
He was one of 2 linebackers that was that we targeted as far as saying that's who Lions are going to go after. So
because the other one that I wanted was Sewell.
And you also was talking about. I don't know if it was I know it was the day of the draft. It was not. It might have been before, but I know the day of the draft, we were also talking about Branch too.
Yeah.
How he's still on the board, and that's who Lions should go get. So technically, we kind of cleaned up last year.
Yeah.
And all that. Look, we're not just saying that. This is, you can listen to previous shows and you can hear what we said. This is true stuff. We're not just making this up. So this week, when we had our little break, we didn't do a show. I actually spent a lot of time reviewing a lot of the players coming out in the draft. All right, so I'm already kind of preparing for that. I kind of already have some players in mind, and so I'm already kind of getting focused in on that area. So at any rate, watch out for that show because I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, but before we actually move on to the Super Bowl talk there, brother, I do want to play a little game with you. Now, this is normally where we would do our this here.
It's time for another ludicrous list on No Pad Sports Talk.
So I just wanted to play it because it's actually working now. But
because it's working.
So this isn't going to be a traditional ludicrous list. I'm going to modify it a little bit. My brother doesn't know anything that's going on, but I don't think this list would have been fair, and that's why I kind of want to reel it in. Right? Normally, with a ludicrous list, we give each other 1 minute, 60 seconds. Right? Just that's it to name as many as we can. But it's not going to be fair in this one. So I actually don't want to time it. I want to have a little bit of fun on this. So this could be a 2-part question. All right. Okay. We all know last time Lions won a playoff game was back in 91.
Correct.
All right. We all know how many years that's been since they've won, right? Okay. During that time, it's going to be a 2-part question. First part question is, out of all those years, how many times did we have just a quarterback play the entire season? Since the last, from 91 all the way to 23, right? Looking back at all those years, how many times did we have just one starting quarterback the entire year?
For the entire season.
Yes. Now, we're not talking about quarterbacks coming in for, garbage time or that kind of thing, right?
Right.
Just starting.
Your starting quarterback started every single game.
Yes. Started every single game of the season.
Started every single game.
Now, that's the first thing I want to ask. Okay. Second thing I want to know is, can you name every quarterback that started a game for the Lions since 91?
Oh.
Okay. So this is why we can't do a ludicrous list. We can't do 60 seconds, right?
Yeah, there's no way, because that's a lot of quarterbacks.
That's a lot of quarterbacks. Okay, let me help you out. All right.
So let's start. Okay, part 1, right?
All right, part 1.
Quarterbacks who played an entire season. Rodney Peete?
No.
Okay. Is it Scott Mitchell?
Rodney Peete, the most he played was 11.
11.
Scott Mitchell, yes. Scott Mitchell done it twice.
Okay. Besides Jared Goff.
That's another one. So.
Yep.
Okay. You're missing a very obvious one.
Matthew Stafford.
Yes. Okay.
Matthew Stafford. Yep.
Now here's where it gets sad, brother.
Okay.
There's only 2 other quarterbacks that's done it.
Other than those 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, not to be, I will say to be fair, Matthew Stafford was with us 10 years?
12.
12 years. Yes. Right? So that's half that time.
Yes.
Right? So if you take that out, that might actually make it sound worse, because when you think about the number of quarterbacks that we had.
No, it does. I think it does. That's why
it makes it even worse. It makes it even worse.
But there's only 2 other quarterbacks for the Lions, because you got Mitchell,
Kramer,
Stafford, and Goff. Nope. Kramer never started an entire season.
Okay.
I know, man. Okay.
Yeah.
A hint for you. All right, a hint.
Okay.
He was the first quarterback the Lions had that would. Let me rephrase that. The Piano Man. They call him the Piano Man.
Nah, I got nothing.
Okay. Think of he went to the college in the Northwest in Oregon. He was the 3rd overall pick.
Yep. Harrington, Joey Harrington.
Yeah, there we go. He did it 2 years. Now, after they got rid of Harrington, they brought in a quarterback, and he played 2 seasons, full seasons, starting every game for the Lions, and he was the last one before they drafted Matthew Stafford. He got hurt in the season that Dan Orlovsky ran out of the back of the end zone on the 0-16 season.
Mm.
That's what allowed Dan Orlovsky to start. He was a former Bengal quarterback. He was a backup for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Lions brought him in, and he was the starter.
Yeah, the 0-16 year, though, I just want to forget the whole thing. No, I got nothing.
No. All right. He was an undrafted quarterback, went to Seattle Seahawks. He ended up not sticking, going to the practice squad, but he didn't really stick with the team. He went to the World League of American Football, of all things.
No.
All right. Jon Kitna.
Oh, my God. Yes. I can see Kitna playing in Seattle with the face mask thing. I can see it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jon Kitna. God, I hadn't heard that name in a long time.
I know. So, so Jon Kitna. All right.
Jon Kitna.
So those are the only quarterbacks in that whole history. Now, Stafford himself, 3 of his 12 years, he was injured as well. So
correct.
He,
and but that was early in his career, or at least within the first couple of seasons, right?
Well, he also was injured in 19. His first 2 seasons was injured, and 2019 was injured, and then 2020 was the last year he played with the Lions.
Yeah.
Okay. So we already named some quarterbacks. Can you name any more that's played with the Lions since that 91 season?
Because
you mentioned Rodney Peete, so I'll give you him.
Yeah.
You mentioned Eric Kramer. I'll give you him.
Is it Johnson? Andre? It's not Andre Johnson, but it was the quarterback out of Houston.
You're right. I'll give it to you. Andre Ware.
Andre Ware.
Yeah.
Like I can remember the college, can't remember the dude's name. Who else? I mean,
he was also a former Seattle Seahawk quarterback that came to the Lions.
Craig, Roger, something Craig?
Dave Craig.
Dave Craig.
All right.
Yeah.
This guy did not play much, but he used to be called the Magic Man. He played with Green Bay.
Played with Green Bay?
Yeah, before he came to the Lions.
No. Did we ever have Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No.
No? I can't.
No.
There's a bunch of quarterbacks, and Fitzpatrick played for a lot of teams. The Magic, nothing. No.
Dan Majkowski.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Did he play like a game, and that was it?
2 games.
2. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Is there like 25 names on this list, isn't there?
There's a lot, dude. Yeah, about 25.
About 25?
Yeah. So here's one for you. He was a quarterback, and He is now a head coach.
He's a head coach.
Yep.
NFL head coach?
Yep. He's an NFL head coach right now, this year. Well, as of 23, he was a head coach. His
Frank
first
Reich?
head coach. Yeah. Frank Reich. Yeah. He played a couple games for the Lions as well, too.
Okay.
All
The
right.
Lions were notorious for picking up free agents after a backup team. Like, Frank Reich had that great year, right? Because he came in and played for Phil Simms, took him to the Super Bowl, right? But Pete Mitchell, I call him Pete Mitchell, Top Gun
Scott
movie.
Mitchell.
Scott Mitchell. But, same thing, right? Just, that's what we did.
Yeah.
We were free agent quarterbacks all the time.
This one, the Lions actually drafted him out of Eastern Michigan. He was.
Charlie Batch.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
I like Charlie Batch because him and Ronnie Pete, they were on the same team at the same time, weren't they? Didn't they overlap?
You mean as far as like years with the Lions?
Yeah, years with the Lions.
No, him and
No?
Ronnie Pete and Andre Ware overlapped.
Ah, that's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because I liked Rodney Pete. I liked Charlie Batch. I liked them both.
And Charlie Batch went to Pittsburgh and got a ring, I believe. He got a ring with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So, okay. Here's another one that's kind of hard to remember.
Okay.
I don't even know if how to even give you a hint for this guy. His college was Tulsa. He was only a 7th round draft pick, played for a ton of teams. He actually has a record for the longest touchdown pass in history at 99 yards. And he made the Pro Bowl back in 96, but that was not with the Lions. That was before he was with the Lions. But before he came to the Lions, he was with your team, the Washington Redskins.
Out of Tulsa, huh?
Yep, in 1994, he was drafted by the Redskins. I'll give you a hint. Earlier in the same draft, they also drafted Heath Schuler in the 1st round. And then they came back and drafted this guy in the 7th round.
Heath Schuler, I remember. I'm obviously going to know the name when you tell me, but I got nothing.
All right. Gus Frerotte.
Oh, my. Didn't he go down to St. Louis after he left us?
Well, he was in Denver right after the Lions, then the Bengals, then the Vikings, then the Dolphins, then the Rams, and then back to the Vikings.
Yeah. He was the Ryan Fitzpatrick before Ryan Fitzpatrick came out of college.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
Gus Frerotte. Yeah. Totally remember that guy. He played at Tulsa, huh?
Yeah, out of Tulsa.
All right.
I don't even know where to go with this one, man. Honestly. His TD interception ratio was 4-15. His career QB rating was 53.3. All right?
Oh.
Like I don't even know how to give you a hint of this guy. He was drafted by the Cardinals in 95. I don't even know what to say, man. Like I don't think you'll get him. I'm just gonna tell you. I don't think you'll get him. Stoney Case.
I've never even heard of Stoney Case.
Oh my goodness! All right.
The only case I know is Case Keenum.
No. Okay. Here's a guy. You heard of this guy? I know you have. All right. Okay.
All right.
He was actually won the Heisman Trophy in 1990, the Maxwell Award in 1990, the Davey O'Brien Award in 90 and 91, Sammy Baugh Trophy in 91, UPI Player of the Year in 1990. He was a 2-time consensus All-American in 90 and 91. All right. He played in BYU during that time.
All right.
And he was drafted by the Green Bay Packers back in the 9th round when they had so many rounds.
Yeah.
He was a backup to Brett Favre originally.
Wow.
Yeah,
So many so many BYU quarterbacks.
Ty Detmer.
Oh yeah, because there was a bunch of Detmers that came out. They all played at BYU. Yeah.
All right, we'll try to move us along a little bit because there's so many. This guy, college Rutgers, he was drafted in the 5th round back in 2001. He was drafted actually by the Lions. They actually traded up to take this guy.
No, I got nothing.
Mike
No.
McMahon.
Nope, don't even know who that is.
Okay, this guy you heard of. He was, think about San Francisco 49ers quarterbacks, all right? You had Joe Montana.
Yeah.
You had Steve Young.
Oh, yeah, the redhead guy. Oh, red-haired. Had a cannon for an arm. What the heck's his name?
He broke his leg on the Lions.
Oh,
It was Jeff Garcia.
Jeff Garcia. Dude had a cannon.
So after Jeff Garcia, because he came in for, like, he had Joey Harrington, Jeff Garcia. Then they were both, that was back in 2005. Then they both got kicked off, right? That's
Yep.
when John Kitna came in. We already named him. Then we had the infamous 2008 season where Kitna started, ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
Then you had the one guy running out the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
I mentioned him, so I basically, gave
Dan
you him.
Orlovsky, right?
And then you had a quarterback that was actually really good for a while. 3-time Pro Bowler, passing yard leader in 2000, passing yards, touchdown and yards leader. He won the Sammy Baugh Trophy. The guy was, he was also played in the NFC. Well, at the time it was Central, but he was in the same division with the Lions.
Okay.
Culpepper.
Oh, yeah, he played for, yeah.
Yeah.
We got him from Minnesota.
Then after that, that's when Matthew Stafford was drafted in 2009, but he ended up getting hurt.
Yep.
Culpepper came in and played a few games as well. But then you had one guy. I actually know this guy a little bit, but really from baseball. He actually grew up in Okemos.
Okay.
They're out of Lansing. And he went to your favorite school.
Yeah? Michigan guy?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. He started a little bit late. But yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know. No, nothing.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I was thinking about a different guy. My bad. Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
He was still in Michigan, but I got him mixed up with a different Michigan quarterback.
Okay.
This guy was a Michigan State quarterback.
Oh, Michigan State.
So,
yeah.
My fault.
I'm not going to know that guy. Well, I probably will when you say his name, but go ahead.
You will. Drew Stanton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was a decent quarterback.
He was
Well, at
decent.
Michigan State. Yeah, he was decent.
Yeah. All right. This is getting ugly, isn't it? All these quarterbacks, right? Getting ugly. So you have one more quarterback played at Maryland.
Yeah. No.
I don't even know. He was in the NFL Europe before he came to the NFL, and he was just a journeyman. Went everywhere.
Yeah.
Minnesota, San Fran, Detroit, St. Louis, back to Minnesota.
No.
Yeah, Sean Hill.
Oh, I remember. I do remember the name, Sean Hill. Yep.
Now we're getting into more recent times. Then you had the stretch where Matt Stafford started every game of the season for 7 straight years from 2011 to the 18. So then Stafford gets hurt at 19, and we had David Blau come in, and Jeff Driscoll.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Stafford started every game in 2020. Then you had 2021. Jared Goff played 14 games. One other quarterback played 3. Mr. Tim Boyle.
Yeah. Yeah, because we keep trying to bring some of these guys back as backups.
Yeah, like Blau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway,
that's got to be like 30 quarterbacks.
I think I counted 24, but I could
24?
be wrong. And the only reason why was because of Stafford had 7 years of starting every game of the season.
Right.
I mean, straight, 7 years straight.
Right.
9 total, whatever it was.
9 total. So 9 out of those 30 years.
3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry. 8 years straight of starting every game of the season, but 9 total.
Yeah. So 9 total years of one quarterback.
Yeah.
Out of 30 years since we were, from 1 to 1, right?
And Goff now has 2 years. Kitna has 2 years. Harrington has 2 years. And Mitchell has 2 years. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And everybody else is just a bunch of ones. 1 gamers.
Yes. Yeah, 1 gamers.
Yeah, 1 gamers. That's
dude.
Well, let's talk. You want to know what a bad team looks like? That is what a bad team looks like.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Do you want to know why Pittsburgh is competitive almost every year? Right? Well, 1, they've had the same coach. They've had 3 coaches in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm 50 years old. They have had 3 coaches in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and what's his name?
Come on, dude. Come on, dude.
No, you got me all screwed up. My brain is mushed.
Oh, come on. Mike Tomlin, man.
Mike Tomlin. I'm sorry, Coach. I'm sorry, Coach Tomlin. I am.
He's only a year older than you, too, by the way.
Yeah. And but 3 coaches, right?
Yeah.
The Patriots, right? Same. Like, it's a consistency thing, right?
A lot of it is.
And we just were consistently couldn't find somebody to lead our team.
Yeah, I mean, look, that went on a lot longer than I thought I was going to, but I don't know. I just had this desire to go through all those quarterbacks because after talking about how good the Lions did this year, just kind of looking back and reminiscing about all those bad years with those bad quarterbacks. I mean, I don't know. It just had me thinking just how lucky we are that we actually got to see this, because, kids that are, 10 years old or whatever it is right now, just starting to watch the Lions get into football.
Yep.
And they've seen, success last year, seen some success this year. But for us, it's been a lifetime of misery.
Yes.
So I'm sorry. Yep. I went way longer than I thought, but I just had to reminisce real quick just to kind of point that out, just how
we talked about it. The last time they won a playoff game, I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
That I mean, it's 32 years. Right?
I mean, dude, I wasn't even a teenager yet.
I mean, you were 12, right? If I was 18.
Well, because that was back in 91, right?
91, 92. So,
well, they won in 92, right? But it was a 90, yeah. So
it was the 91, 92 year.
But when they won the playoff game, I did not even turn 11 yet.
Yeah.
I turned 11 after, like, shortly thereafter, like a month later. But, yeah.
That's right.
Crazy, man.
It's absolutely right. So we are grateful for what we've got. We are excited for the future. And
the staff's in place. The GM's in place. Like, we're right now, we are really lucky.
And I think, our owner, she's done a fantastic job.
I'm glad you mentioned her. Yeah.
Right. We've always talked so bad about the Ford family. I've had conversations where I'm like, please sell the team. Right? Like, to get some fresh blood in there, right?
Yeah.
She has done an unbelievable job leading this organization.
Yeah.
So I want to give her a little bit of love too.
Well, we have to, because again, I think it's well warranted. I mean, look, it was her vision, right? And her thought to, like, bring in, Spielman and a bunch of other people to kind of come in, and, like, she didn't sit there and say, I know it all, I'm going to make the decision. She's like, look, I need help. I'm going to bring in all these other, people. Please help me pick the right guys for this job.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to get and mend fences with Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Right? Like, these pillars of our team who were dominant at their position.
Legends.
Yes. And just got the shaft, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And, to try and reach out and try to pull them back into the family. Look, she's done a fantastic job. I want to thank her. I'm looking forward to next year. I'm looking forward to the year after that, because I didn't expect us to get to the NFC Championship game. Like, next year, my goal, we're going to the Super Bowl.
That has to be the goal.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you were a game away this year. You were 2 quarters away from that year. 2 quarters away from that this year. So, like, the Super Bowl or bust. Like, let's go. We're all in. I am ready to go.
And I think I sent it to you. Jared Goff, said, I'm assuming it's real. I guess I didn't verify it, but that he'd rather be, like a poor man, like a poor man with weapons around him than a rich man with nobody else around him. So it sounds like that he's willing to sign a long-term deal for not top money. I'm sure he's still going to get paid. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to be playing for like $10 million a year, but he's not going to he's not going to be trying to break the bank.
No, he'll still be in that top 10 area, but top 15 as far as pay.
I think personally, this is again, I know people's going to have their own little thoughts and stuff, and you can roast me if you want to. I think as long as he gets paid $40 million or less, we're in good shape, because I mean, Daniel Jones is making $40 million a year. Just put that in, right?
I know.
So,
and I, when it comes to that, we do have Hendon Hooker. We are both high on his athletic ability. But having him, it's going to be great to see him in the preseason and what he can actually do. Like, as we move forward, and getting those glimpses. So I think if he progresses the way I think he can, he's going to make Jared Goff better, right?
Yeah.
Because Jared Goff, that's going to be his competition, right? So I'm going to have to be better, or they're going to bring this guy in.
And just for the record, right now, Goff, his average per year is $33.5 million. So he can still take almost a $7 million a year raise.
Yep.
And still leave Detroit in a pretty good position going forward, I believe.
Yeah. Because the cap goes up every year a little bit anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we were okay on cap. We weren't like being crushed.
We're in the top third of caps.
Yeah. Well, we still had some like cap space available. Like we weren't so far because there's some teams in 4 years they're going to be so strapped for cash because of how they're paying these quarterbacks.
Well, Miami's going to be strapped next year. Like the right now for 2024 season, Lions have $46 million in cap space.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean that's a lot, and there's probably a lot of these players aren't going to be coming back. Like Levi Onwuzurike.
Yep.
He's probably I don't know. We should probably do this in our other talk, but at any rate, yeah, I think they're going to free up a lot of additional cap space by getting rid of some of these players that just aren't really performing.
Correct. Right. And then you got to sign your rookie class, so that's going to take you got to take some of that cap space off, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, we have the ability to make a little bit of a splash if we needed to. Specifically, if there was somebody like a big name edge rusher, or to play opposite Aiden Hutchinson, or a shutdown corner that might be available, right?
I'm actually hoping that Lions could trade for one. I got something in my head.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I got a plan for a corner.
So we're going to be doing it for that's going to be our draft talk, but we're throwing it out there for you guys. A little bit.
But okay. We're already over an hour. Let's talk Super Bowl real quick.
All right. Super Bowl. Let's go 49ers. Chiefs, you can kiss it. And I hope you go home empty-handed.
I actually am not even that interested in this game, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't care about either team. I want both teams to lose somehow.
I think this is why I'm pulling for the 49ers. Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last guy picked in the NFL draft. And he is still getting he only has done in the last 2 seasons, all he has done is one, get his team to the NFC Championship both games. If he didn't get hurt against Philadelphia, I swear the team would have been in the Super Bowl last year.
I agree.
And this would be a repeat of last year's Super Bowl. Right?
Agreed. Yeah.
You can't sit there and tell me that man doesn't deserve some love. And I just want him to go out there and win the Super Bowl, get the MVP of the game, and just say, stick it to everybody else out there.
Look, I can't argue anything you're saying. I'm just going to say this. The reason why I don't really care about either team is, one, I'm tired of the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't want the Kansas City Chiefs to win. And honestly, I'd be on board with you with the whole Brock Purdy situation. But that's all I've heard for 2 years is this Brock Purdy storyline. And it's kind of played out on me. And it's not his fault. It's just because San Francisco as a team is so good and they've been winning. And so all you hear about is Brock Purdy taking his team and winning and all this kind of stuff. He had that, I don't know how many games in a row he won before he lost his first, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, I'm just tired of the Brock Purdy storyline. I'm tired of the Kansas City Chiefs. And
it's me.
If I had to pick someone, I'd pick the Niners to root for, but I just don't care.
Yeah. And so I get what you're saying, about Mr. Earl, and they talk about this all the time. My problem is the naysayers about him not being a good quarterback, or he's just a game manager, or he's just this, or he's just that. You know what? Trey Lance, who was a really high draft pick, isn't even on that team anymore because this guy outplayed him.
He can't even start on another team either.
Exactly. So, all those people out there that are hating on the fact that he's just this kind of quarterback, you know what? Like, I'm not that because I'm not a Cam Newton fan at all.
I know, yeah.
And when Brock Purdy said that, I know 31 other players, or quarterbacks, in the 50 other players, and you're not one of them. Good for him. Right? Good for him.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about a guy who doesn't even play the game, and he's talking about a guy who's playing at a high level.
Kind of like us.
Kind of like us. Kind of like us. But I can recognize talent. I just don't. I've never liked Cam Newton. I'm sure he might be the greatest, nicest, whatever, right? But I never liked him as a football player because I felt like he was never a team player.
Yeah.
And that's me on the outside looking in. It was a perception thing. It has nothing to do with anything else other than what I saw and what I perceived as the player.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Anyway, so you want the Niners to win.
I want the Niners to win.
They're going to win. Is that your prediction?
That is my prediction. The Niners are going to win this game. It's going to be 32-28.
Okay. All right. I'm actually thinking that it's going to be 30-something to, say, low 20-something. I think they're going to win by almost 10 points. It's probably I think more like a 9-point spread. So I'll go with 31-22.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The current point spread, I think, is like 1 for the game.
Yeah. And I just don't think it's going to come down to that.
I get why they do that. I mean, both offenses are good, both defenses are good. This is the first time the Chiefs have had a defense where Pat Mahomes has not had to outscore everybody else.
But the problem I see with the Chiefs is they don't really have any really good, reliable receivers. Outside. I mean, Kelsey's a tight end. I know he receives, but you know what I'm saying. No. Pass catchers, but wide receivers.
True,
don't really have
as in receivers. Yes, and receivers.
So I think if I am the San Francisco 49ers, if I'm their defensive coordinator, my whole game plan is going to revolve around double teaming Kelsey, not letting him beat you, and try forcing the wide receivers to beat you because I don't think they're that good, and I think that if you take away the safety blanket in Kelsey, I don't think Mahomes will beat you at that point in time.
No.
Right?
You stop Kelsey, you stop the run game, and you keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket and you don't let him scramble on you because he'll kill you there.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
If you can do those 3 things, those other receivers won't matter anyway, even if they weren't dropping passes like they have all season. Right?
But no, you're right.
Let's go Niners. I want the championship trophy back in the NFC. I think the NFC is the blue collar league anyway. AFC is, to me, the AFC is like the SEC.
I knew you were going to say that. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
The AFC is the SEC of the NFL. It just is. It is. The NFC is the Big Ten. That's how I feel.
All right. All right. Last thing we got to cover, guys.
Yep.
We have coming up. We have a league starting, right, coming back. After combining the USFL with the XFL, we actually have them coming back, and we're going to be seeing 8 teams.
8 teams.
And they start, what was the date?
March 30th.
All right.
March 30th is kickoff. Michigan Panthers are playing at home on March 30th. Now, unfortunately, I can't go to that game with you, brother, because I'd love to go to the opening game.
All right.
But I have a robotics competition. But we've got to, we are going to a game this year. We are going to a game this year. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we are going to go to a game this year.
We are going to go to a game.
We need to get down there and see our Michigan Panthers play. But March 30th, that's the kickoff game. So that's a Saturday, I believe, and then March 31st is the other games.
Yeah, well, actually, I think we'll even announce the game that we're going to once we decide on the game to go to. And for any of the listeners out there, you know, hey, it'd be kind of like a meet and greet if you're down there too.
Yeah, we'll have to do some quick shorts while we're at the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That would be freaking cool.
That'd be fun.
So
just to kind of lay it out there coming up, we got our draft talk, postseason stuff for the Lions, you know, as far as free agencies, re-signings, that kind of stuff with the draft. We got some baseball coming up because pitchers and catchers are reporting.
Yep.
You know, we're going to start talking some USFL, XFL once that season starts going. Look, we got a lot of stuff in store, a lot of stuff coming ahead. And so make sure you definitely subscribe so you get to see it. You know, watch us, hear that stuff. Yep. We'd and once we get the game figured out, we'd love to you know, if you guys have got down there too, let's like I said, do a little bit of meet and greet down there too.
Because not only that, because right after the kickoff of that, you got the actual NFL draft at Ford Field.
Oh yeah, and we want to do that too.
And we are going to the draft.
I want to be there. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah. I don't care if I can't see anything. Just the atmosphere of being down there would be phenomenal.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we gotta do that. So
we're gonna try and we have to pull a Friday night for the second and third round.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Let's do that.
That's my fingers crossed. That's what we're shooting for.
I'll have to get us a room, but or something, like depending on, you know, traffic, whatever. I'm just thinking like maybe get down there early so we don't have all that traffic and kind of stay there, whatever. It's kind of what I'm thinking. But at any rate, all right. Any last words there, brother?
I got none. Thank you for a great season. I know we don't talk about any other sport mostly than football, baseball, but that's our wheelhouse.
It is.
And
I like watching hockey, you know.
And the Pistons did
basketball. You know,
Pistons won 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
So
and they dropped, you know, Killian Hayes. You know, they you know, which was really needed. Like, you know, that way they can get some of their younger players in there. And anyways, we watch it, pay attention to it, but it's not our wheelhouse, right? Baseball and football is what it is. So
it is. And now that we have a USFL, we got a spring league. We can go from football to baseball. It's fucking fantastic.
It is fantastic. And last thing is, our soundboard is back working again. You've heard it. We got our intro. We had the cheering. Now we got the outro.
And he's going to be seeing, he's all excited. He's going to hit the button, and it's not going to work.
Don't say that. So, it's probably going to happen that way. But appreciate you listening.
Yep.
We got to get out of here. Talk to y'all later. We're going to try to do a baseball show tomorrow. So, check that out, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks for listening to No Pads Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at No Pads Sports Talk.